which we can explain later. Dan, do you want to sit? I mean,
I don't mind standing, that's okay. I don't know if I need the microphone.
Yeah.
There's a handout circulating. Has everybody got a copy? If there aren't enough copies, we'll get some more made in a hurry. And if you wouldn't mind sharing copies if there aren't enough. Anybody out here? There's some extras here.
Yeah, just pass.
Pass them around, please. Good. I set up Equidine simply as a holding company for holding a various number of patents that I have on a new concept of wind turbine. And at this point, we have no production, no manufacturing in the works. It's really just in an R&D phase, and really hoping in the next step to have Penn State Wind Technology Field Test Center do some testing of a prototype for us. Up on the left of the handout, you'll see a picture that I believe Sharon showed, and it's on the website. That's the one that is presently a working prototype out at Evergreen Conservancy's Sonoma Environmental Education Center. And on the right is the latest that's still in my garage, and which I hope is the one that will be taken to Penn State, and we tested and possibly another one. So that's what's really in the books right now, is to have them tested. Now, the question is, why aren't we going ahead and trying to get some manufacturing of these done? Why aren't we really focusing on some production of different actual models that could be sold? And the main reason, if you see on the handout in the second paragraph, is that it seems like all kinds of horizontal and vertical axis turbines, especially if they're in the small turbine market, have been getting a very bad press. And I gave you a quote from some fellow named Lloyd Alter, and I gave you the source of the citation. The title of it is "Let's Get Real About Cute Little Wind Turbines." Unfortunately, there have been some real staggering failures of small wind turbines, and there have been very good reasons why there's a lot of skepticism and a lot of really resistance to small wind turbine market. And in fact, if you look at the beginning of the quote, the first part of Lloyd Alter's quote, in orange, the promoters went to jail. There actually have been some cases of people who committed actual fraud in terms of the development of wind turbines. And so you've got that going against you, plus also further down in that first little section of this quote, in red, I've highlighted that the biggest problem with most of a certain type of small wind turbine seems to be turbulence, that they're very sensitive to turbulence, and that affects the performance of these turbines substantially. In the second part of the quote, Alter takes small wind turbines to task because, he says in red again, they're cheap but not very efficient, since half the turbine is blocking the wind while the other half scoops it. So if you think about just a standard kind of what's called the vertical axis Savonius type shape, you know, if it's held like this, you'll see the general shape of it. It's kind of an S curve, but you know, it's going to operate like this, and one half, if it's facing the wind, it's going to be catching the wind and operating nicely to produce electricity or power. The other half, though, is going to be turning into the wind. The wind will be striking the back of that half, of that vane, and that will be resisting and lowering the efficiency of the turbine. So that's the second big bugaboo of small wind turbines, especially of the vertical axis Savonius type, is that they're low in efficiency. They just are facing this, what I call a backwind resistance problem. And so far, except for the turbine that I've developed, no one has figured out a way to get around it. What you see, and the video I have going here, is a really old prototype. This was about 8 years ago I built this. But I think it's a nice picture to illustrate some of the features of this new design. On the bottom of the handout, I give you quite a few potential advantages of the Equidine turbine, but I think I can illustrate very clearly some of these. The first thing I'd like to call your attention to is that not the turbine itself, but the surface of the water. If there are any sailors in the audience, you know that that's called fetch. A little bit of light wind will produce certain ripples on the water, and that's what you see going here. And in fact, if you watch those ripples, you'll see that there are quite a few going one way, quite a few going another way, and once in a while you see some other ripples coming in. These are very turbulent conditions that you see. And the water kind of...
Explain later. Dan, do you want to sit? I mean,
I don't mind standing, that's okay. I don't know if I need the microphone.
Yeah.
There's a handout circulating. Has everybody got a copy? If there aren't enough copies, we'll get some more made in a hurry. And if you wouldn't mind sharing copies if there aren't enough. Anybody out there? There's some extras here.
Yeah, just pass over
Pass them around, please. If you could. I set up Echodyne simply as a holding company for holding a various number of patents that I have on a new concept of wind turbine. And at this point, we have no production, no manufacturing in the works. It's really just in an R&D phase, and really hoping in the next step to have Penn State Wind Technology Field Test Center do some testing of a prototype for us.